Hello and welcome to a brand new edition of Squared Circle Radio live right here on our YouTube channel. And if you're listening on podcast or SportsWire Radio, either one, thank you so much for being here. My name is Chris Belcher. The Young Buck Andy York is going to be joining me momentarily as we are less than 2 weeks away from WrestleMania. And it's time that we talk about the celebrity involvement of WrestleMania. As we all know, celebrities have long been involved in WrestleMania, but this year seems like it's getting a bigger spotlight than ever. And why is that? Because last Friday night on SmackDown, Pat McAfee has been revealed as the mystery caller from Randy Orton. And Pat revealed himself, gave Cody Rhodes a low blow, which again, like Cody Rhodes bleeding, it wouldn't be WrestleMania season if Cody Rhodes didn't get kicked between the legs. And Pat McAfee made a living doing that with his leg in the NFL. So Cody Rhodes gets beaten down by Randy Orton. Pat McAfee cuts a promo that is kind of out of left field. It was really interesting to hear him tear down the business that he apparently doesn't belong in anymore. And I don't know, it's just really strange. That's one of the things that bothered me about this promo. It was a really good promo. It just, the business has been doing fine and they're making a lot of money. Yes, ticket sale. He was right about the ticket prices and stuff like that. But it was just really interesting that it was Pat McAfee. There was connections to be made there. And I hope they continue to do that over the next 12 days or whatever it is until WrestleMania. I hope they continue to connect the dots and put the puzzle pieces together, because the message was okay. It maybe should have been a different messenger. And one thing that I think that they left out, and Bully Ray pointed this out on Busted Open earlier this morning, and I said it immediately after it happened. I put it in my notes here, that this has to harken back to Cody Rhodes not being on Pat McAfee's show 2 weeks ago. Like, that has to get brought up, because Cody Rhodes doesn't miss media appearances for travel reasons. He just doesn't. Like, I understand travel issues come up, and I understand that's human life. That's the real world, and things happen, and we have to cancel for one reason or another. And maybe Cody Rhodes cancels more often than I realize, and maybe I'm just putting him on a pedestal, whatever. The point that I'm trying to make is that's an easy dig for Pat McAfee at Cody Rhodes. All you have to do is bring that up. Hey, Cody, I get the number one sports talk show on YouTube, on ESPN, blah, 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 whatever it is. And you no-showed it, or you canceled, or you whatever, bring that up. That would help tie this thing together. I'll be interested to see how this thing gets handled over the next 12 days. As I said, Michael Cole talked about it on Monday Night Raw tonight, about how Pat was one of his best friends. And it was one of the most bizarre, disgusting things that Michael Cole has seen in all of his 30 years in the wrestling business. And that's one of the things that it didn't make a lot of sense to me, is that Pat was so into this in his run from 2020 through, I guess WrestleMania last year. He was so into this and he loved it so much. And all he wanted to do was to acknowledge the tribal chief. And there was a bit on the Pat McAfee show where he and his guys sing Cody's song. They sing it, Cody Rhodes, Cody, I'm not going to sing the whole thing, but you get the point. And Cody has been a repeated guest on that show. So why, all of a sudden, why is Pat McAfee now flipping the script? And I'm not going to say that, is saving the business with Randy Orton. Now, we all love Randy Orton. And we all love to see Randy Orton in big main event spots. And we all love Pat McAfee. Except right now. The internet is crapping all over this. And I understand if the frustration is we still need to fit the puzzle pieces together, because I completely agree. What I don't agree with is blaming Pat McAfee for this. Because the rumor out there, I like to talk about what's on my screen, but the rumor out there is that TKO has forced Pat McAfee into this spot, much like they forced The Rock into the whole angle last year. So that's the rumor. And Pat McAfee is just getting the bad end of the deal. Well, it's not Pat's fault. And Pat, number one, I understand if this is a TKO call, you're bringing eyes to this product via the Pat McAfee show. Because what's Pat McAfee going to do? He's going to talk about it every day. What did he do when he showed up this morning on the Pat McAfee show? Had a Randy Orton shirt right there on his chair, right when the show started. And he talked about it. And he said the internet wrestling community is part of the problem. Well, it is. I understand that completely. So that's eyeballs on this that may have otherwise not known, because this is the first WrestleMania on ESPN. So that is otherwise people that might not be tuning into WrestleMania. A City Kitty in the chat with us, by the way, live on YouTube tonight. Thank you so much for being with us. If you've got comments, if you've got questions, please drop them in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and warn you, I'm having internet issues at my house. If I drop off, especially before Andy gets on, heaven forbid, but if I happen to drop off, we'll be back. We'll figure this thing out. Okay. I'm just bear with me. Okay. I'm not happy about it, and we've been trying to get it fixed. That's neither here nor there. Cody's been on Pat McAfee's show several times. City Kitty says has to be part of the story about TKO. Same with Punk's promo tonight. Yes. Punk bringing up the TKO stuff, Punk bringing up the McAfee stuff. Here's what I will say about that, City Kitty. I think you're right, and we're leading to something here. And I'll probably bring this back up when Andy hops on. He is on his way. He had a little bit of a technical delay as well. Here's what I'll say about this TKO stuff. There's an internet rumor out there that Cody's promo was written into Friday Night SmackDown after the whole McAfee reveal. That Cody's promo later was written in as a way to try to save face, if you will, as a way to react to the online fan base. Because people hated the reveal of Pat McAfee so much that basically Triple H sent Cody out there to just go off the cuff of this promo and cover it up and try to make good on it. And there's a lot of internet rumors out there that people are saying that WWE creative is fed up with this TKO inserting themselves into creative. You know, with Rock last year, as I mentioned, and now McAfee forcing his way into this Cody Rhodes story with Randy Orton. Because Cody and Randy don't need Pat McAfee, which they don't. I agree. But there's the narrative out there about TKO and all that kind of stuff. I'll say this. As frustrated as creative might be, and as frustrated as Cody Rhodes might be, I don't think there's any way that WWE, operating under TKO, operating under Endeavor, operating under Ari Emanuel, The Rock's on the board, this, that, and the other. I don't think there is any way that they're calling audibles and taking shots at TKO on their show. That's not happening. So I need everybody to just put that out of their mind. It's not happening. Tonight's CM Punk pipe bomb, he's not going out there and saying that without getting it cleared by TKO. He's not. We live in a different time from his last pipe bomb, which again was scripted. I hate to break it to you. This is now globally owned, bigger than it's ever been, not owned by the McMahon family anymore. Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, whoever is not going out there and taking shots at TKO on this show. They're not. Without permission. They're just not. Why would you do that? Why would you risk this investment taking shots at your owner without your owner knowing? Because he has the power to take you off television, or he has the power to make changes. You don't think if TKO came out and said, all right, Triple H, you're not head of creative anymore, and Cody Rhodes, for taking those shots, we're stripping you of the championship. Like, that's not happening. That's stupid. That is the dumbest narrative that I have read about this whole Pat McAfee thing. And I'm going to bring Andy York in here because Andy, I just got finished saying, and I know you have a lot to say about this too, is I'm addressing right now this internet rumor that this Cody Rhodes promo was just totally unscripted and they told him to go out there and take shots at TKO. And that this CM Punk stuff that he said tonight was totally unscripted, taking shots at TKO. Andy, it's not a Vince McMahon owned company anymore. This thing is global. They're making so much money, hand over fist. There is no way that they're on live TV and WWE and Triple H is calling audibles and saying, just go out there and take shots at TKO. Just go take shots at, and we'll ask for forgiveness later. Andy, I just think that's the dumbest thing that I have heard in the last 72 hours.
The dumbest thing would have been if you told me Pat McAfee was the guy that was on the phone with Randy. Oh, wait, that did happen. I don't know. Do I think that TKO knew that they were probably going to take shots? Absolutely. I don't think they probably got the line approved tonight that Punk said about the ticket prices and everything else, because I would have a hard time thinking TKO would be like, yeah, go ahead and let people, like, be on the people's side that we're gouging them for money every single time they go to one of these events. So I tend to believe that. And if we're believing what we see on Unreal and some of these other backstage things, it's not the first time that Triple H would have told somebody, hey, go do what you need to do. When he told Cody to go out there and Cody pointed at Roman instead of pointing at Seth. So like that, there's some precedent to it. I think what it felt like, and I could be completely wrong, I could be way out there.
Yep.
I think Triple H is kind of fed up with TKO meddling this time of year, because this is now 3 years in a row that the main events of WrestleMania have been messed with because TKO or The Rock or somebody sticks their nose in the business thinking they know better when they don't know anything. I mean, Cody Rhodes was the hottest thing going into WrestleMania 40, and the fact that they almost didn't go that route is beyond stupid. Last year with the whole debacle of The Rock not showing up, oh, well, we'll just throw Travis Scott out there and that'll make everything better. You completely killed John Cena's last WrestleMania. And now, you know, I don't know what's in store for Randy and Cody. I don't know what's in store for them, but I got to be real honest with you. I think it's probably the third biggest match now on the card, and I don't even know if it really deserves a main event spot right now. I think what we saw main event Monday Night Raw tonight deserves a main event spot more than Cody and Randy does, just because they have so, you know how we say one left doesn't make a right, but three do? Well, we've taken like 5 now, and we're going way off into the weeds, and none of it to me just makes any sense at all of what we're doing. And so I don't know. I don't know where we're going. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know why we are going this path, going this way. It is Friday was very frustrating for that part. And I heard you say this earlier before I jumped on. I don't think Pat McAfee is to blame at all. If you're blaming Pat McAfee for this whole debacle, then that's on you, because this has nothing to do with Pat. Pat is just doing what he thinks is helping, what he's being told will help. Any one of us that were put in that spot, I think would absolutely jump at it and would be in that spot and would be a part of Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. It feels like we are meddling more and more and more into the main events of WrestleMania than need be. And it's really convoluted. It's really all over the place. We've been kind of harping for weeks now that, we're kind of doing the same thing with Punk and Roman every single week. This week, it actually felt like we took a massive step forward, because the promo Punk cut on Roman and then on TKO and on everything else just really elevated the feud. That tonight is what we should have been getting the whole time. And so it's really starting to elevate it more. I think they're just going to have to do so much damage control in some ways on Friday to not just make this make sense, but make this something more than it is right now. Because it very much feels like this was either supposed to be somebody else, or the fact that, we just threw Pat out there makes it seem like, last minute decision, or whoever they really wanted couldn't come, whoever they really wanted couldn't do the job. And so now it's just up to Pat to take that spot. I don't know. It's just, it feels really, really weird. And it feels really off place, but we added Jelly Roll to this. Now we're adding Pat. I'm curious to see what we're doing from here. I think we have a real issue and a real problem with TKO sticking their nose in. They don't care about the build. Like, it's very evident from year to year. They don't care about the build of WrestleMania. They don't care what happens. They're just trying. Again, it's a business, it's a company, so you get it to an extent. They just want to make the most money that they can make off of the fan base, regardless of whether it makes sense or it's good product or not. And so, seeing Pat be the guy that's being the caller doesn't, to me, move tickets towards WrestleMania. Like, I love Pat McAfee. I do. This was in Indianapolis. Maybe it's a different story, but the fact that it's in Vegas, I don't think a lot of people are now going to try to travel to Las Vegas just to see Pat McAfee. Just like I don't think a lot of people are going to travel to Vegas just to see Jelly Roll wrestle. And so now we're adding, elements to this that are not going to move the needle. It's just adding for namesake. And really, it's just to add more people to buy the subscription to ESPN, or, if you're overseas, buying the subscription to Netflix to watch the pay-per-view. It's not really, I don't think, to move tickets in Vegas. And so I feel like it's just a complete waste of a spot. It's a complete waste of a segment. It's a complete waste of a story. Again, not because of Pat, but because of what is happening and what's going on. City Kitty said, tonight is the first night I've cared about anything about the Punk Roman match. To be honest, I completely agree. Tonight was the best that they have done in weeks to build that match. And again, like Chris, when before your internet decided to pull a TKO on us and just bail at the last second, I was saying, like, I don't think bringing Pat because it's not in Indianapolis, I don't think bringing Pat into this is going to move ticket prices or ticket sales. Like, I don't think people are going to go to Las Vegas to watch Pat McAfee or to see Pat McAfee, just like they're not going to go to Vegas to see Jelly Roll. I have a hard time seeing that be the reason. But if you're trying to build ticket prices, wouldn't, I think a Batista would have got more people excited and going to it rather than a Pat McAfee.
Well, here's the thing, and I know you just talked for a minute, and I greatly apologize. I said before you came on that my internet was going to drop. I knew it was going to, and here it is.
I'm glad it came when I did.
But I'll say this. I don't think that it's a ticket price thing at this point. I don't think it's a ticket thing at this point. I think it's an ESPN buys at this point, because we're 12 days out. Las Vegas is a haul. You just mentioned Indianapolis. It's a lot easier for most of America to get to Indianapolis than it is to get to Las Vegas. That's a trek. I'm making it. I understand it. And 12 days out, it's not going to get any cheaper 12 days out. Like like maybe you can buy some tickets a little cheaper since they lowered some of the prices and whatever, but flights, last minute flights are terrible. You're not going to be able to get a hotel room. So I don't think it's Jelly Roll, iShowSpeed, Pat McAfee, whatever it is. I don't think it's a in-house thing. I think it's an ESPN thing now. I think you're trying to drive, especially because you're airing the first hour on ESPN2 the first night, ESPN the second night. I think you're trying to drive the ESPN stuff up. So I think that's where they are now. I'll say this, Andy, coming from you and I don't hate this Pat McAfee thing. It's disappointing, but it goes back to what we have said for so long about the expectations of wrestling fans. We were ruined by 2023 and the finishing of the story 2024 and this Avengers Endgame ending of WrestleMania 40. Like, that's not going to happen every single year. It's just not. And our expectations for everything, Danhausen coming out of the box, Travis Scott, The Rock, and John Cena, and just fill in the blank. Our expectations are through the roof. And I said before you logged on, it's not Pat McAfee's fault. You and I love Pat McAfee. And Pat McAfee is doing the best that Pat McAfee can do with the cards that he has been given. And you have to applaud Pat. I mean, Andy, he showed up on his show with a Randy Orton shirt today. Like, he's doing his part in making this the best that he can make it. So we don't fault Pat in this situation. It's a combination of, if TKO is inserting themselves, maybe they are, maybe they're not. Could they have sold this a little better? Could the words that Pat spoke, whoever gave him the words, been a little better? Yes. The internet wrestling community just hates whatever's put in front of them, I
don't know if it's that. I think for 90% of it, I think it's 90% of it.
I think. I don't know.
Yeah, you're still here. You're kind of in and out.
Until,
can you hear me?
Maybe. I don't know. Let's see. Let me hit a button here. Nope. I think that is my internet again.
Can you hear me now, Chris?
Because I'm not able to hit a button. Lovely.
I think he's having more internet technical issues. I think going off of what he said about, I think the internet wrestling community gets mad at a lot of stuff that they don't need to get mad at. And I completely agree that I think a lot of people think the 2024 or the WrestleMania main event, WrestleMania 40 main event has ruined a lot of people. I agree. I think we all now have the expectation that this is going to happen every WrestleMania when that's just not feasible. That's not going to happen. I don't think WWE helps themselves. I think they play into that expectation that, we say it's a new era after every WrestleMania or after every pay-per-view. And so we're building to this. I agree. Like, I think WrestleMania 40 has ruined a lot of people. I think WWE, though, has not helped themselves in tampering those expectations. I think the wrestling community gets mad at a lot of stuff they shouldn't. This is one of them, though. I am totally on the IWC side. I think this, and again, like you said, Pat has nothing to do with it. Like, I'm not mad that it's Pat McAfee. I think if anybody was going to get the nod at ESPN, it should have been Pat. Like, Pat should be the only one from ESPN. I don't need Stephen A. Smith. I don't need anyone like that getting involved. Just Pat McAfee. That's like, I get that aspect of it. My thing is, and I don't know if your internet may have cut out before because I expected a bigger reaction when I said this and you were kind of there.
Probably.
I don't feel like Randy and Cody is the main event anymore. I feel like what we saw tonight should be main event of night one more than anything else because
I hate to question that.
Opa and Brock is the best built feud going into WrestleMania. It's the match now. I am the most excited for that match because I know it's going to be 5 minutes. It's going to be nothing but finishers, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So like I expect that now with Cody Randy, there's a real chance we get a real dud out of all this, depending on how much we get overbooked, how much, people are overplaying it or trying to get their thing. I mean, it feels like early Saudi Arabia, messed pay-per-views again of people meddling that have no business meddling in professional wrestling.
One of the things that I said before you hopped on, and again, yes, City Kitty, you are 100% correct. Danhausen has cursed me. I'm cursed for sure. I'm hoping it's not going to go out again. We'll see. But anyway, one of the things that I said before you hopped on is an easy way for them to help improve this situation, or maybe they could have done it on Friday and they just didn't do it, was Cody Rhodes was supposed to be on Pat McAfee's show 2 weeks ago, and he wasn't. And Cody doesn't miss shows, like media appearances. So why not tie that into this? That doesn't have to be the reason that Pat called Randy or Randy called Pat, whatever. It doesn't have to be the reason, but at least that connects the tissues. That helps us up, because Andy, the Pat McAfee crew used to sing Cody Rhodes' song all the time. Pat McAfee loved the wrestling business. So just a lot of what he said didn't make a lot of sense.
It feels like we have kind of given what we were trying to give John Cena last year.
Yeah.
To Pat McAfee. And that just doesn't really, I tell you what, make this 10 times better if Adam Cole was in WWE, because he kind of fit the bill that all this stuff, because they had a feud going back to NXT. He fit the bill of kind of everything Pat was saying about the wrestling business. It was so far out of left field.
Yes.
I mean, how many people did we talk about? And his name never once, I don't think, at least it didn't for me. I don't know if it did for you. His name never once crossed my mind.
That's one of the things that we're talking about on Busted Open is last Friday, they literally spent the whole 3-hour show dissecting the phone calls and narrowing down a list of 13 people down to like 2 or 3. And the whole month, 6 weeks that we've been talking about this, Pat's name has not come up. Again,
no.
Pat's not a bad choice if you connect it and it doesn't feel forced. This feels forced. And it is what it is. And you brought this point up earlier. You said that you think that Triple H and Creative and Cody Rhodes, 3 years in a row, this is TKO. If we are to believe that, maybe it is, maybe it's not. Let's work under the assumption that it is. That Triple H is probably frustrated. Absolutely, he's probably frustrated, and you're trying to make the best out of the situation that you're given. But Andy, this is a global company.
Yeah.
The boss tells you to do something, you're going to do it. That's just what it is.
Yep. And then when he realizes, oh, what happened to all the fans that we built over the last couple of years? Where'd they go? Oh, it's because you are literally doing everything. I mean, how long has it been since we talked about WrestleMania matches being changed, or main events being changed on the fly or on the win? It's been, I mean, Vince even in his last couple of years didn't even do that. And don't come out. I'm not saying bring Vince back. I'm not, I'm probably out of the two of us, I'm the biggest Vince McMahon hater this world probably has ever seen. The old man, I'm glad he's gone. But when you start messing and meddling with the main event of WrestleMania, this isn't WrestlePalooza. This isn't a B tier or a C tier pay. This is the biggest show of the year. And you start meddling with the main events of that, you have completely lost the plot of why you bought WWE in the first place.
Yeah, that's true.
And my thing is, like, he is, like, I think he's even said Ariel, whatever his name is.
Hawani.
I think he's even
Emmanuel. Sorry.
That's a different one.
That's a different one.
But I think he's even said before, like, he doesn't have any experience and he doesn't really want to have any experience in professional wrestling. Like, he just bought the business. So if you don't have any experience, why are you putting input where your input's not needed?
Right.
And I think it's one of those that, like, fool me one time, WrestleMania 40. Shame on you. Fool me twice. Okay, can't really blame you. This is 3 times in a row that this has happened. That's not a coincidence at this point.
Right. You're right. You're 100% right. It certainly is. And I can't wait to see the Unreal episode that tells us about this build and how all this has happened. That's for sure. Let me ask you one more question before we move on from Cody and Randy and Pat, because this is truly the big news this week. Like next week, obviously keep it locked in here to the channel as long as I'm here. Keep it locked in here to the channel. We are going to talk WrestleMania. We got a full week of episodes next week. Next Monday, we will not preview WrestleMania. That'll come later in the week. We still want to react to Monday Night Raw next week. Tomorrow on ESPN, we're getting the full lineup Saturday, Sunday matches. So that's going to be awesome. So again, keep it locked in right here. I hope this internet thing is fixed by next week. That's all I'm saying. But one more question about this issue. Do you think that this now prompts people to cheer for Cody Rhodes more? At the end of the day, I don't think they were scared of the Randy Orton cheers and the Cody boos. I don't think that was this at all. But maybe it worked that way.
Depending on what happens,
okay,
the worst case scenario for them is they boo Cody and they boo Randy because of everything that's happened.
Right.
Because that's, I mean, let's be real honest. That's a real possibility, especially, I hate bringing this up as much as I do, but it sticks with me, especially if it's a Travis Scott situation all over again. I think you're not, because you remember last year, like, the reaction for Cena winning was kind of like, really? Like, nobody, like, there were some cheers, but it wasn't like the pop that we all were expecting. Yeah. I think we're kind of heading for the same way. So I'm not afraid that Cody's going to get cheered. I'm afraid they're both going to get booed. Like, I think that's a massive, massive possibility.
Yeah, I do too. All right. We'll have to see what happens. For those of you who are watching this episode and want to know or looking through our channel and wondering when we're going to talk about Cody and Randy and Pat McAfee, you're not going to get this YouTube cut because clearly it's not going to happen, but we'll talk about it more next week. I promise. Let's talk about the couple other celebrities that have been involved so far. iShowSpeed tonight is put into a 6-man tag with Logan Paul and Austin Theory against the Usos and LA Knight. Can I just say that the two times, correct me if I'm wrong, the two times we have seen iShowSpeed do something physical in the wrestling business, number one, he got broken in half by Braun Breaker. Tonight, from the ground, the biggest leapfrog I've ever seen without any sort of help over top of LA Knight. Listen, if they play their cards right, this could be really, really cool at WrestleMania. I know it seems like it's thrown together and we don't know what to do and injuries and this, that, and the other. Dude, this 6-man could be really, really cool.
Yeah, I think, and I don't, like, this is not disrespect to him, because he is, if you watch any of his streams or any of his clips or anything, he is extremely athletic. I mean, he is an athletic guy. Yep. I think with him, the less is better, but let him do things that are
that he can
like do. Super cool. Like, I think he's going to leapfrog. I think he's going to do a lot of interesting stuff. Here's my big prediction for that whole match, not who's going to win or anything, because like you said, we're doing that later. I think he eats another massive spear from Braun Breaker.
Oh, you think he shows?
I do think he shows, just because when he gets there and he looks over and he's like, wait a minute, aren't you the one that killed me last time I got in the ring? And then maybe like by accident, or maybe it's like the Raw after Mania or something. Yeah, I can see iShowSpeed getting another massive spear, because that was probably the best. I mean, we were there in person for it. That was probably the best moment of that Rumble was that moment.
It was super cool. Do you think they try to recreate that with Jey Uso? Because he does the spear.
I hope not. It's going to be funny if they do and he just leapfrogs it.
I know, that will be cool. I will say this. I hope that the finish of the match is LA Knight and Jimmy Uso trying to do the 1D with Jay, but just throwing iShowSpeed up instead of just, holding him up. Throw him up. I think that would be really, really cool.
Like what Oba did to that poor security guard last week, man. Yes. He chucked him halfway up the ramp.
Yes. Yes. Oba and Brock, you mentioned it earlier. We're going to talk about that a whole lot next week, because that is an extremely well well-built feud, and they barely said 10 words, but it's fantastic. Let's talk about one more celebrity. Actually, two more celebrities. We don't have to talk about both of them. Lil Yachty showing up with Trick Williams. I really want to dive into Trick and Sammy next week because there's some interesting dynamics there for sure. But Lil Yachty showing up is pretty interesting. Do you think we now get Jelly Roll as a second to Cody Rhodes with this whole Pat McAfee situation? I'm not saying he's going to accompany him to the ring.
Yeah.
But on the graphic, there's an updated graphic tonight with Cody and Randy, and Pat's face was on it. So,
I mean, it makes sense for everything that's happened so far. I don't think it's going to add anything. I really don't.
I just no.
But I mean, I guess it's a way to get him out there. I was fully expecting we get Kit Wilson and The Miz versus Jelly Roll and either Danhausen or Royce Keys.
Yep.
Because where's that dude been since he showed up at the Rumble, and then we haven't seen him since.
He's going to do a very Raw after Mania-esque groundbreaker last year. I can feel it. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. But I still think that he gets a match at Mania more than likely.
But
he may pull double duty of like night 2 he has that match, night 1 that happens. I could see. Because it's just really weird for him just to have a match on SmackDown. Like, I know it was to get to probably the main, like what happened in the main event and everything, but it just seems like kind of a waste to not put him on Mania.
You're right. I completely agree. He's gonna make an appearance one way or another.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm completely with you. All right, let's talk about two interesting things that happened on Monday Night Raw tonight, and then we do have to go to our WrestleMania what ifs, as long as my internet will hold up. Because we do have to talk about that because we've got a really fun one tonight. But we find out tonight that seems like a demon is going to resurrect and appear at WrestleMania for the first time in 3 years. Yes, that's right. 3 years. The demon's last appearance was against Edge at WrestleMania 39, which I was in the building for. So the demon against Dominic Mysterio. I'm pretty interested by that.
Yeah, and I think this is probably going to be a short match too. I think the demon comes in and just kind of lays house. Dom gets some offense in, but I think it's about time Finn gets a big win. And I think it comes from here.
Which is a shame because like this match deserves like 20 minutes. Like let these two dudes go, like tear it up. Maybe they continue this feud to Backlash and maybe they have a proper match or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's probably the first one's probably going to be quick. The second one's probably going to be the long one.
Yeah.
Or the longer one.
Uh-oh. We got Aaron Grisham in the chat. The only celeb we want to factor in at Mania is Eugene. Listen, he's an absolute celebrity. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about Eugene. Listen, I'm telling
you. Now Disco Inferno is going to show up because he started taking he took a random shot.
That is true. That is 100% true. Listen, the pop that Eugene would get if he showed up at WrestleMania would just be absolutely incredible.
There's a massive section of the crowd that would have no idea.
Of course.
No idea who he is.
None. And this would be one that I wish Jared was standing beside of me and that music just hits and just to see his reaction. Oh my gosh, would just be incredible. So yes, Eugene at WrestleMania would be absolutely fantastic. Okay. Aaron says, Andy's been talking some. Okay, well, maybe.
When have I been talking AEW?
Did we talk about that 2 weeks ago? I don't remember. Was that after?
I mean, I'll talk about it.
What was that pay-per-view? Was that
Revolution?
Maybe. Maybe we said something. Aaron and I were texting about something a couple weeks ago. Aaron, I've slept since then. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to refresh my memory.
Hey, I'll always talk AEW. I'm not allowed to on this podcast, but I'll always talk AEW.
That is correct. You're not. We got some context tonight, Andy, with Seth Rollins and Gunther. And Seth Rollins saying that he thinks that Gunther and Paul Heyman may have entered into a business relationship, and we see somewhat of a confirmation of that backstage afterwards, but it's more about planting the seeds for a beast and a career killer coming up later this summer. So we got some context. How did you feel about Seth's promo and now this context that we've been given for a match that seemingly was thrown together?
It's exactly where we thought it was going to be, that it's all leading to Brock. Like all I needed was Gunther shaking his hand and saying, "You owe me a much bigger favor than thank you." In my mind, I went, and that's why we're doing this. That's the only reason why we're doing this. So I think we're heading there. I think this is probably the easiest match for me to predict. Yeah. And I think it's going to be an awesome match. I think it's going to be great, but I think the outcome's locked and sealed at this point. But I think what it's going to lead to is going to be exciting, at least for Gunther. Because for Seth, I don't know where this leads other than probably towards Braun Breaker whenever he gets back.
And yeah, I know. That's why I have a hard time with Seth losing this. I'm not saying he won't. He's going to lose the next few too. So is that really the best thing for Seth? I don't know. Well, I guess we'll figure it out. All right, let's talk about WrestleMania what ifs. We've been doing this segment all throughout WrestleMania season, and if you've missed it, go back in our archives and check it out. We've talked about CM Punk staying in WWE. We've talked about Sting beating Triple H. We've talked about Stone Cold not turning heel, and we've talked about The Undertaker's streak. Who should have ended it? Should it have ever been ended? Go back in our archives, check out those episodes. But tonight, Andy, is a fun one. Because tonight, we're going to look back at the thing that almost was. I'm talking about the pandemic WrestleMania. Honestly, Andy, one of the biggest WrestleMania what ifs in history, because we truly do not know. So many questions as to what this WrestleMania would have actually looked like had it taken place in Tampa, Florida, in front of a live crowd in 2020. So I'm not talking about that WWE would have unsafely had WrestleMania aired and we would have all gotten COVID-19 house. And I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, had a global pandemic not happened and we actually would have had WrestleMania, Andy, obviously the biggest question is Drew McIntyre, because Drew McIntyre would have gotten his moment in the sun, beating Brock Lesnar in the main event of WrestleMania. But if that would have happened, does 2026 Drew McIntyre, what does 2026 Drew McIntyre look like if that changes? Like, how does that truly change the trajectory of the run that we're seeing with Drew?
So, I don't know. It's weird because if we didn't have this, we wouldn't have the greatest WrestleMania main event of all time, which is Drew McIntyre versus The Big Show.
Right.
So, can't forget that one at all. I don't know if Drew's career trajectory changes much.
Okay.
Like, I think it's weird because I think he benefited from not having a crowd as much as he hindered from it at the same time. Because one thing about wrestling fans is you give us what we want and pretty quickly we're like, okay, we're bored with this. Let's move on.
Right.
But with, again, a pandemic era when there's no fans, there's not a lot of fans. He probably was able to do a lot more. They're able to get away with a lot more. And so I think it kind of worked out for him. And it led to this version of Drew, which I think is the best version of Drew McIntyre that we've gotten so far. I think the thing that is more interesting from this is I don't know if we get the tribal chief if we don't get this WrestleMania. I know he's not on WrestleMania. But we don't get the Goldberg Roman match. We end up getting Goldberg and Braun Strowman.
Yep.
And so that kind of just completely changed everything, because then it wouldn't be till SummerSlam when he would show with Paul Heyman and just got to completely change everything. Yep. So I think that's a big one. There's a lot.
Yeah, let me piggyback on that real quick, because that was my next point in my notes. Is like, we all talk about Drew McIntyre and how this was supposed to be his crowning moment, lest we forget that Roman Reigns was supposed to win a championship at this WrestleMania. And then we would have gotten standard Roman Reigns, which at this point, I will say this, as they're building to this Roman Goldberg match, Roman is getting cheered. Like, for one of the small handful of times that version of Roman was getting cheered, it was happening at this point. And he would have won the championship. Who knows who he would have feuded with or whatever. But you're exactly right, Andy. The tribal chief was birthed out of the pandemic. The only reason that it truly worked is because of the pandemic. So I think you're spot on. And I'll let you continue with your point, because I think, the trajectory of Drew McIntyre may have stayed the same, may have been delayed a little bit. Who knows what Roman Reigns we would have gotten?
I mean, could you imagine Big Dog Roman in the pandemic?
Oh,
you know how, like, I think they would have lost more ratings than they ended up losing during that point. Again, and it's not, I don't blame, I know I have, if you've gone back and listened to any podcast I've been on this channel pre-2019, you know how much I despise Big Dog Roman Reigns.
Yep.
But I never blame Roman Reigns for that. Like, that is all Vince McMahon's fault, is all of that. What was so great about the pandemic is that he was able to flesh out the tribal chief character without being wutted, without the boos and the cheers. He was able to get to the point where when crowds came back, he was comfortable in what he was doing.
Yep.
And we were now used to seeing that version of him on TV. I think that is such a big, big deal. So, like, that's a good thing that came out of this. I also think another good thing that came out of this, which I know you're going to disagree with me on, I think one of the best matches of the entire show and one of the most unique matches of the entire show is the Firefly Funhouse.
Sure.
I know it's not a match. I know it's not a match in a traditional sense. I think if we had got a straight up The Fiend versus John Cena match, I think it would have been fine. Nothing amazing. Nothing.
That was going to be a question that I wanted to ask you. Do you think it's a squash match like the Undertaker squashed John Cena at 34? Is it a squash?
I think it is. I think it's the only way to really get the Fiend. Because remember what we're coming off of with the Fiend. I mean, we're coming off of
Goldberg.
The Hell in a Cell debacle. We're coming off of Goldberg. We're coming off of a lot of bad stuff, which is why Roman was getting cheered so much, is because who was he going against? Well, probably the most hated man in the company at that point, which was Goldberg. So I think Bray and I think Cena really benefited from it, because would the squash match been memorable? Probably. But what we got, I mean, people still talk about, like, that's one of the best things to come out was the cinematic match that actually worked. And that one and the Undertaker one were the two that absolutely worked for what they were. But then we get the bad, which I don't remember how you feel about this match or not. I went back and tried to watch it and had to stop watching it. Was Edge and Randy Orton. I mean, that match was so long, and all you could hear was them grunting and breathing for 45 minutes. And I'm like, this ain't it. Like, this is not what this needs to be.
I think we would have gotten the same thing in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
It would have been shorter. It would have been about 25 minutes shorter.
Yeah.
But I do think we would have gotten a last man standing match. I think it would have pretty much ended the same way that it did. Maybe not on top of a semi or, whatever, but I think we would have gotten a last man standing, though.
I think that's the match that most hindered from not having an audience.
Yes, because it was so
that
long.
One. Yeah. I think, Kevin Owens jumping off the big WrestleMania sign was awesome. Like, that's one memory that I think a lot of people come back to. I think this is where we get the payoff with Otis and Mandy.
It is. Yeah,
I think it's this
Otis versus Ziggler. Yep.
Yeah. And then I went back and watched Drew versus Brock just to see if the pandemic era was as weird as I remember it being without an audience, and it was hard to watch. Like, not because it was it's just no fans, no noise was really hard to watch. As I'm scrolling through though, I go, wait, Bobby Lashley faced Aleister Black at WrestleMania. When did that happen? Like, there's a lot from this I do not remember at all.
Daniel Bryan versus Sami Zayn.
I don't remember that.
A triangle ladder match between the New Day Usos and the Miz, Miz and Morrison, aka it's Morrison, it's Jimmy Uso.
I remember that one.
Kofi Kingston.
And it was pretty good.
Jimmy Uso tears his ACL in the match.
Yeah.
Let's see what else happened at the WrestleMania.
Asuka and Becky.
Asuka. No, it was Shayna.
No. Shayna and Becky. Yeah.
Which
and
I think that is a finish to a match that got changed because of the pandemic.
I agree.
I think had there been fans there, Shayna Baszler won that match, hands down.
Yep.
No doubt.
Yep.
Rhea. I also think that Rhea Ripley becomes a star a lot sooner if the pandemic does not happen. Yep. I'm not saying that she beat Charlotte at that WrestleMania because I think that finish probably stays the same. But I think Charlotte puts her over in a big way in front of a crowd, and she becomes a lot bigger a lot sooner.
The biggest thing that this WrestleMania did was give us 2 nights of WrestleMania now, and not the 17-hour long WrestleMania that we had at 35.
Because listen to this lineup. This is why I was supposed to go to this WrestleMania. Listen to this lineup. We just talked about it. Roman Reigns versus Goldberg. Star-studded match right there.
WrestleMania match.
John Cena versus The Fiend. Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar. The Undertaker versus AJ Styles. Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. And I don't care what anybody says. Shayna Baszler was red hot going in this.
Yeah, she was.
Against the man, Becky Lynch. Edge's first WrestleMania in 9 years against Randy Orton. Andy, I just gave you 7 matches, and there would have been 3 or 4 more fillers.
Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens.
Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens. This WrestleMania could literally, and this is why this segment is awesome. This WrestleMania could have been the best of all time. I truly believe that top to bottom, and I know that people are saying it right now about this year's WrestleMania going into 42, in-ring wise, bell to bell, could be the best wrestling WrestleMania in a long time, if not ever. 36, if it happens the right way, dude, I really think it could have been one of the best ever.
Yeah, I think it had a lot of potential. I think it had a lot of potential. Mania is so weird because there's so many matches that you look at and go, on paper, that should be like match of the year, 5-star classic at WrestleMania. They don't really pan out all the time, and he's going to the Hall of Fame this year. I'm a big AJ guy, but like he had 2 of them that I'm like, those were bad, like not bad, but they were not as good as they could have been.
I just watched the Shinsuke match the other day. Again, with time, it gets better, I promise.
If it's a 2-night WrestleMania, I think that match is looked at better.
That's true. You're right.
The Edge one, I think, stays the same.
I haven't watched that one in a minute. I'll have to go back and make.
We were in person for that one. I think when the bell rang, me and you looked at each other, we were like, "Well, yeah, it was fun. It was fun." AJ was concussed before he came out. But then, he wrestled Shane McMahon as like, oh, that was probably the best match on that Mania, which makes no sense. Right. I think on paper, that WrestleMania could have been really special. But then you kind of look at it and you go, would Brock and Drew have been as exciting as it was? Maybe. I think there's a really good chance that it could have been. Is The Undertaker still the same in the cinematic?
Depends on if Brock and Drew happened at like 12:30 at night.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is The Undertaker going to look like The Undertaker at WrestleMania? Because, let's be real honest. At that point, that was a big coin toss of whether he was going to look like the dead man or not. The cinematic match made him look like that. Was The Fiend and John Cena going to live up to the hype? Because people were behind it. People loved it and were excited for it. So I think on paper, it would have been amazing. Yeah. I think execution would have been really interesting. And with it being only one night, it would have been hard for all of those matches to live up to any kind of hype.
Yep, that's true. That's true. When we got 2 nights and we got spaced out a little bit, got a little more time, and this, that, and the other. I will say this: it has been confirmed by multiple sources that Metallica was slated to play The Undertaker to the ring that night.
That would have been awesome.
It would have just been absolutely incredible.
That would have been awesome.
I do think Taker would have been Taker that night, because the last match that he wrestled before that was that Extreme Rules tag match where it was him and Roman, and he looked great in that match. He
looked good there.
And you put him in there with AJ. And again, you just talked about the less than stellar WrestleMania matches that AJ has had. This would not have been one of them. My question to you as we wrap this up goes back to last week. This is Taker's swan song. And I think it would have been well known that it would have been Taker's swan song at this WrestleMania against AJ Styles. Does he win?
I think so. I don't think it changes.
Okay.
I think if he has the streak still intact, it's a different question. It's a different story. But the fact that the streak is already broken and he's lost twice, I think he goes out. I think AJ would have pulled an edge and be like, I'm not beating him. I'm not doing that. Like I think there are 2 guys in this business that can win their last match, and everybody, including the old school old timers, are like, it's fine. It's Taker and it's Sting. Those 2 guys can win their last 2 matches, and everybody's like, yeah, of course they should. I think people would have been mad if they lost their last match.
Sure, that's true. Yep.
And so I think it was I have no problem with Taker winning his last match against AJ. I had no problem with Sting walking out as a champion, even if it was a tag champ, walking out a champion in his career in a gnarly match anyway. Those 2 guys deserve to walk out after all they've been through. They deserve to walk out winners.
That is very true. All right, and we're going to walk out of this episode still standing. The internet tried to kick me down. I'm still standing. Why? Because I have my hotspot on my phone just to make sure. Probably what I should have done to begin this show.
Probably.
But I did not do it. I will learn from it. Thank you all so much for hanging with us. City Kitty, yes. Metallica throwing up the horns, for sure. Yes. Thank you all for being with us. Thank you for checking out whatever video that you've checked out. Thank you for listening on Sports Wire Radio. All the things. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're going to do our best to have an intact show next Monday, because Andy, it's the go home show for WrestleMania. Well, not really. There's a SmackDown, but we don't.
The go home Raw.
It's the go home Raw. Right. It's our live go home show. So if you're new to the channel, we don't plan to be live throughout next week. So those episodes will most likely be taped episodes, but we're going to talk about the Hall of Fame. We're going to preview both nights of WrestleMania. We're still working on that interview. Keep your fingers crossed. But if that interview falls through, that interview will happen eventually, and we'll bring some awesome WrestleMania content to you. I promise. But yeah, exactly. So next week, keep it locked in right here. And then our next live show will be, of course, this Monday. And then Andy, I'll be in Las Vegas, and we're coming to you right after WrestleMania Night 1 and right after WrestleMania Night 2. And then I'm going to take a red eye home, and I'm going to be in this chair when we go live after the Raw, after WrestleMania. So 3 straight days of being live on this channel. Andy, I can't wait. We're 12 days away.
I'm so happy WrestleMania is not happening on Easter weekend this year. The last 2 years has killed me, it being that weekend. So I'm glad we have a week in between the two happening. 2 weeks really, but a week between the end of Easter and us starting the week-long content. Yeah, I'm ready for it. I'm excited. No matter how oddly booked the build to WrestleManias are, it's always special when WrestleMania comes around. I'm not going to say that, because the bad WrestleManias are really bad, and they're hard to get. Some of them are hard to get through. Yep. But 9 times out of 10, even the boring WrestleManias still have moments that remind us why we love wrestling. And so that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
Absolutely. I can't tell you off the top of my head what the standout moment from WrestleMania 9 is. Other than it's Bobby Heenan riding the camel out backwards.
Yes.
And the whole presentation of that's the bright spot. WrestleMania 11, Shawn versus Diesel. Okay. Yep. I'm not going to sit here and go through all the bad WrestleManias, but I'll say this.
Who knows? That may be an episode next week.
Maybe that's an episode next week. Oh, who knows?
If the interview falls through, there you go.
If the interview falls through, we'll see. But I will say this. I 100% agree with you. And I know a lot of people are saying this. I really think when the bell rings at this WrestleMania, if you just let yourself go into the wrestling and just watch it, it's going to be really, really good. I'm telling you, it's going to be really, really good.
And WWE has a good tendency to make video packages for really bad feuds feel like they matter because the video packages are pretty fun. So I think that's going to be a big part of it as well.
Yep, absolutely, for sure. All right, keep it locked in right here, Squared Circle Radio. If you're on podcast, follow us. If you're listening on Sports Wire, keep it locked in right here. If you're watching us on the YouTube channel, thank you for surviving this episode with us, and subscribe to the channel. For Mr. Andy York, my name is Chris Belcher, and this has been a wacky but yet another edition of Squared Circle Radio. We will catch you guys down the road.